Whew, I'm gonna get in so much trouble talking about this. But we're
It's been a long awaited returning guest, but you guys know all month long we have been discussing the new history of the DC universe, the Dakota Incident. And well, today we have our final piece of the puzzle, the writer who is opening and closing this book. And it's fitting, opening and closing a chapter on Static with the one and only Mr. Nikolas Draper-Ivey. How are you today, sir?
good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. It's funny, like really thinking about this. I do think it is fitting that you are opening and closing this chapter on Static. As for the last 5 years, that's been what you've been most attached to. It seems. Um,
Years.
yeah,
5 years. Wow. Yeah.
it
Whew.
was. It was 5 years ago when the press release came out with your character designs.
Oh God, yeah, it was. Whew. Well, um, it's over. So,
I mean, now that you've got, it feels like it's a little bit more in your rearview mirror than it has been, right? Like, what can you say about your time spent in Dakota? How has it changed you? What's it opened up for you?
uh, well, I mean, obviously, you work on a character like Static for 5 years. It does have an effect on you, like working on that character. Um, you just grow attached to him and in that world. And funny enough, it just kind of shows up in your daily life too. Like there's just certain things that when you spend that time absorbing that much material with that character and reading those stories, um, you just find yourself kind of, not to say like, what would Virgil do? But it's just kind of like it just seeps its way into your personality, I think. Um, I mean, they all do because there's still like, there's still a little bit of Ebon in there that I say that has not gone away. Um, so I don't know. It feels I'm gonna really miss the character. I think that's the best way I can say it. Yeah.
Working on Static, and you've had a unique position working on Static, right? Because you got to reimagine his origin in a way. So you've basically taken him from the beginning, opening stages, all those emotions that come with like getting powers, trying to decide what to do with them, watching the world change around you, right? Uh, you gave him like the definitive story, in my opinion, for like this generation in Shadows of Dakota, and really giving him a dark opposite with Ebon in the comics. And then you got to take him into the far future with Static Beyond, right? Like, so you've kind of done in some ways everything there is to do, but then in a lot of ways, it also feels like kind of barely scratching the surface. But how has it been kind of sitting with each iteration and playing with it so much?
I thought about that not too long ago where I was like, wow, you've actually got to like have hands-on with Virgil throughout these different stages. You get to see it through the origin. You got to, draw him in the beginning stages. You got to write him kind of, as a teenager. And then you got to take him in the future and, have some fun, like writing him as like an adult and drawing him as an adult. And then you get to go back and like write him as like a young adult. So it's kind of cool to be able to be the one to kind of have this through line with the character and show like this is him at this stage, this is him at this stage, this is him at this stage, this is him in that stage. And that's a privilege, you know what I mean? Like just to it's such a short amount of time. Like I agree with you, it's like barely scratching the surface. It's like there's so much I would have loved to have done with the character and, listening to all the fans and, are you gonna do this? Are you gonna do that? Is Shebang gonna show up? Are you gonna do this with Gear? How many times are you gonna put that? Or what about this character and that character? And you want to do all of it. But as you know, you're only given so much you can work with, and you're just like, man, I really wish I could export this or export that. But I'm grateful for like the time that I was given to be able to kind of make sure that Virgil still was as badass as you could possibly make him, you know. So there's a lot that I could say, but, but I'm gonna just be quiet.
Or you speak a lot about gratitude. Just kind of listening to you, I feel a sense of stewardship. Like you understand that this thing belongs to someone else, and I'm grateful to have had an opportunity to add to it. But to sit with something for as long as you have, to put him through as many iterations, like how is it to separate that? Like, do you feel a sense of ownership over him and his story? Like, and and if not, what does that feel like, and how do you take care of that?
It's tricky because Virgil ultimately is not mine. That is a character that is, Dwayne McDuffie, that is, Dennis Cohen's, like that's Milestones, that's their character. They gave me an opportunity to do more with this character and, let Dennis tell it. He's kind of like, do what you want. He's kind of like, you got it, kid. Like he's got that. Dennis is funny because I think Dennis is never really gonna let me be too far away from the character. I'll just say that. I think Dennis
Mhm.
has a very funny way of being like, yeah, well, we're still thinking about doing this. And want you involved with that. And I'm like, of course you do. So I can say, even though I'm not doing comic work with Virgil anymore, I think there will still be some things that I will be probably involved in with the character in some way or another. But I think there is a sense of responsibility that comes to the character, even though he's not my, you know, character. He is someone that is, part of all of our childhoods, and you want to make sure that you do him as much honor as possible and make sure that he's not like a punk and make sure that, he's got a good story and you make sure that even his adversaries are just as powerful, if not stronger than him. That was the main thing. It's like, okay, it needs to be believable that this Virgil becomes like this great hero. So he's got to have an antagonist that is absolutely terrifying, to see, oh, this is how strong he's going to become, but all of those things are things that I take into consideration, like when dealing with the character. Dennis gave me, one really strong note that I kind of keep in mind. And it's like the world around Virgil can be dark, it can be, serious, it can be like super intense, but Virgil is supposed to be the light. So everything around him can go to shit. Everything around him can be really, really dark and really, really like messed up. But Virgil is supposed to represent like that beacon, haha, of hope. You know what I mean? Like he's
Mm.
supposed to represent that. So um that's what I try to do with handling the character.
Or speaking of Beacon, I should note we're here to talk about the Dakota incident, and we are. I promise we are. And Nick gets to open up the book with this framing sequence that sees Beacon, sometime in the future in a fight with Shiv, who you may remember from the Static Shock animated series. I believe he made an appearance in season one,
Yeah, maybe.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so we get a future Shiv fighting against Beacon, who is Amistad Irvin, Raquel's son. And you got to introduce him in Static Batman Beyond.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to gloss over that book. It's still ongoing right now. I think it's a 5 issue or is it 6 issues?
6 issues. 6 issues.
And you got to draw the first two.
Mhm.
Now I heard rumblings about this series well over a year ago. How is it that you only ended up drawing the first 2 issues?
No comment. No, I mean, honestly, it's a lot of projects like going on. And there's things that I would have liked to have done. But I think the level of detail and artistic liberties that I would have wanted to take, DC's like, we can't let you do that. And it's just like, okay, well, like there's let's just say I really wanted to put my foot in it, and
Mhm.
really like do more. And DC's like, no. And I, for better or worse, it's like, okay. But I ended up, still writing this. I think right now, there's so much on on my plate anyway. So it's just kind of like, well, okay. And ultimately, what we want, regardless of whether or not I'm drawing the book or someone else is drawing the book, the main push, the main thing, the main focus was to get, these books out there. Get something out there with static, you know, out in the open. Regardless of whether or not I'm drawing it, people want to see Batman Beyond, they want to see static. So it's important to get that on the shelf,
Mhm.
just to have it on the shelf, just so it exists. Um, I think that's the main thing is like, is there something on the shelf where people can go to and look? And I still let me do the cover, so that was cool, And Evan's been doing, a great job. I remember there were key things that I definitely had like a hand in, like there's a certain character that is gonna come back. In Static Batman Beyond we haven't seen a future version of. That was like my main thing is like let's see some future versions of other characters that we haven't seen. We get to kind of do that. So I hope that people get to, check it out and it gives, DC kind of like an idea where they're like, oh, maybe we should do more of this. One of the funniest things was I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this, but nah, I don't care. Um, because there was Shadow Cabinet, and then it was like nothing else,
Mhm.
like they didn't have anything. It's okay, you can laugh. Like they had nothing, they had nothing else. And it was like, well, what do we do? And I'm like, well, you know, there is the future version of Static that we did in that Milestone special and, Batman Beyond, and people like both of those things. Maybe if we do a comic with that, it might make people happy. It might sell. It's like, oh, will it sell? Are we sure? It can't possibly. Let's try it. Just try it, and did. And the first issue sold really, really well. And it's kind of like, hmm, I wonder who could have predicted this. I wonder who could have told you guys this was a good idea. And there's a lot of moments like that. I know
Mhm.
DC's probably gonna like be like, I can't stand that kid for saying that. But it's true. It's like the point is Static does sell, and if Static is marketed well, he can flourish. Like, it's there's no reason for that character to not be front and center more often. Um, so it's frustrating because it's like you have people like me and Stephanie, Joe, more. You have all the people that worked on the Dakota Incident book. You have all these people, Vita. I worked with them. Like there's so many people that are trying to get these characters out there and give them like the justice they deserve, and it's really hard. Like we're only given. Whew, I'm gonna get in so much trouble talking about this. But we're only given these limited series. We're not giving ongoing series. I see the complaints and the fire and pitchforks about there not being an a static ongoing, and I agree. I'm kind of, like the Joker on the train, just like into the crowd, like like I like, this is how
Yeah.
I feel. Everyone's like, I'm just like, yep, it's true. Because it's like we really do try, and there should be more. Like it doesn't make any sense, but I need the fans to know that the writers and artists that worked on these characters really did put their best foot forward. And you have to understand that we are given like pretty much like this is the set amount of issues that you get. Make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have a great story and you could have like this massive story you want to tell. And they'll be like, this is cool. Shrink it down to like 6 to 8 issues, you know? And you're
Mhm.
like, that's not enough time to really do anything, you know? And it's always treated kind of as it's a test to see if people are going to buy it. It's like, stop doing that. Stop doing that to people. Well, we're not sure if people are going to get it. You know people are going to get it. You know people are going to buy it. Why do you keep doing this test project thing to see if it'll sell? You know it'll sell. Like I don't like it. I don't know what that whole thing is. I don't think it's fair. And that's why I'm not gonna be doing much, you know, until those things change. Like I kind of want to do other things now because I've given all I can give to this character, and it still doesn't feel like enough because it's like I feel like I've given all that I can give that I was like allowed to give, if that makes sense. Like there's so much more I wanted to give, and it was just like on a short leash. And Static deserves way better than that. Like he really, really does. And I hope that, you know, should he come back and should there be like should there be more to do with the character? I hope that he's treated with like the respect he deserves. I hope that he's received well. I hope that he's marketed front and center. You know, we see the Static ongoing. We see that stuff on the main DC page, in the DC Comics page. We see it advertised, we see it talked about, you know, we see elite level artists come in there and do covers, do, you know, the whole thing. The same way you treat all these other books. Static, people didn't forget it. I don't know why they're trying to like, it feels like they almost want to gaslight the audience into, man, I'm getting fired. It's almost like they want to gaslight the audience into, you know, believing that this character wasn't as relevant as he was. Like we didn't grow up on him. When we did, we all saw it. We all watched the show. Stop pretending like it didn't fucking exist.
We were all there.
Like,
So to that point, right? Like, not to
sorry,
put you through it,
I'm probably in so
excruciating.
much trouble.
Ah, you're good. You're good. But to, you've touched on something that, has come up in my conversations with, Joe and Morgan before you. But we've talked a lot about like sort of momentum of the Milestone Returns experiment, if we want to call it that, right? It's been 5 years. We got two static minis. We got hardware. We got Icon versus hardware. We got an opening salvo for Blood Syndicate. And then kind of out of nowhere, we got the Shadow Cabinet. And the Shadow Cabinet was billed as basically the end, the culmination of all that. And it was like, that's weird. Feels like we're just getting started. But the term that Morgan used was just felt like everything kind of lost momentum.
Mhm.
And then the talks for this one shot came about to as sort of a last ditch effort to make sure that we see these characters, you know, moving forward. It's like, all right, well, let's just put them in the DC universe. And that way anybody can kind of have at it if they so desire.
Mhm.
But you having been there the whole time, what did that loss of momentum, like, how did that play out? Like, was it really just, it felt like spinning wheels? Like, were things just not working? Because there was enthusiasm, at least among my peers, but I recognize I'm the captain of the Milestone fan club, so it's a little bit different for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I told you, where it was like, all right, what do we got? And I'm like, Static Beyond you could do that. Like it was really like, well, we got nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean you got nothing? You have everything. It's right there. Just do it. It just ooh, it really it's hard because it's like I know I'm not the only person in this company that cares about this character. I know I'm not. And I know that there are other people that are also fighting the good fight, you know. But as for people that might advocate for us on our behalf in these rooms, it's close to non-existent. I mean, like you really, we got Marquise, my editor, who's doing best he can, but he can only do so much. And you have, I'm kind of a troublemaker. Like I'm just kind of like, I'll put this shit out here. I don't care. I'm like, because it's like if you don't move the needle, if you don't like force them to move it, like nothing will get done. Like you kind of have to break some rules because it's like otherwise it just fades into obscurity. Joe Illich is kind of like the best at that. He has probably the most professional way of doing it, which is I'm going to put my own money into making a trailer for this thing because there wasn't one made. There was nothing to market this book. Nothing that really shows good faith in these characters. And I just I don't understand. I don't understand what it is. Like I feel like I know what it is, but we just gotta wait and see. And I don't know what the fate of this character is going to be. I really am in my heart of hearts, what I would like is, the next iteration of Static is like the Tom Holland Spider-Man of the Statics, which is, he's able to finally be in that universe and everybody's receives it well and everybody's happy and it's like, okay, they finally did it. You know, the only thing is I don't want Static to just for people to forget what Milestone stands for and what Milestone's always been about and what Static Character has always been about. I think one of the stupidest fucking things on the internet is when people be like, "Oh, they made Static woke." I'm like, "Oh, you didn't read.
Right.
You didn't read any of the originals. You didn't even watch the cartoon." Like it's like, they're talking about all these social issues. It's like, what do you think the fucking what do you think Milestone is? What do you like that? Oh, I can't stand it when people just want, Black Boy go zap zap. Like that's not all Static. That's not all it is, and that shit pisses me off because I'm like, no, there's way more nuance to the character. There's commentary to the character. Like read those old books, and it's crazy because the original Milestone books, those older books from the '90s. Those shits were dark. Like people really forget how. Like, go back and read those.
Hmm.
They
We
were.
were talking. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago, but that hardware story arc that introduces Death Wish and kind of has him go from going fighting for justice or excuse me, fighting for vengeance to fighting for justice. Like that joint is crazy.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
it's
lot. Holocaust was insane. Like he was an insane character. Like there's so much in there where I'm like, if you think that what we wrote in this new iteration was too much or woke, like you would not be able to handle that original run of those characters. Like there's a lot, but I mean, ultimately, you can't worry about that because it's like the fans that know they get it, they know what it is, and it's like you can't worry about the people that are like, oh, they wouldn't made it. It's like, okay, you didn't do your homework at all. Most people's I don't want to say this because I might piss off a lot of people, but I think nah, fuck it. I think some people they have the memory of Static and it doesn't go anywhere past the intro. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like they only know the intro of the cartoon and they don't know much else about that. They know the theme song, they know that stuff, they know the opening sequence, but they did not do anything that past that. They didn't go and look at past that. I mean, I can honestly say, as someone who has sat there and read the old books, and like I have the whole compilation, I have that shit over there. I've got, obviously the new stuff. I still think my favorite one is Birth of the Cool, and it's still my jam. Like I love that. But um going back and then watching all of the the cartoons, like every season,
Mhm.
the whole thing, like all of it,
Yeah.
every single episode.
Listen,
So
I'm just glad that it's up on Tubi now. By the time they hear
yeah,
this
you beat me
conversation,
to it. I was just about to say, I'm like, okay, it's on Tubi.
right, check it out because before that, it only lived on my hard drive illegally. So
I mean,
I
it was
get to
on
leave out on
HBO
that.
Max. It was on
It was
there.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been off for some time now,
Oh
which
man.
is wild. But hey, it's on Tubi. By the way, like if you're a cartoon head, Tubi has like everything. Like I thought Tubi was just hood movies. When I
Yeah,
went there looking for
it's his
cartoons.
movies. It's his movies, and some of them are just, I think everybody should sit down and watch Tubi movies, at least for a just watch them, just as a writer. So,
Mhm.
so you can. It's like I think it was who said this. I forgot who it was. Was it Alan Moore? There's somebody else said this, but it's basically like, you know. You don't just watch good movies, like watch bad movies as well.
Yeah,
Like, because I think there's something about watching even Tubi movies. There's something about like as bad as some of them, a lot of them can be, and there's some questionable storylines. The the earnestness to go forth and be like, I'm gonna make this movie. Like is regardless of what you feel about it, they still took the time to put up a camera and still try to make something. And you're like, okay, um, and that's fine. Side note, there was one on Tubi, which I think was supposed to be on AMC, but there was a whole thing that happened and they got cut. It was crazy. But there's this one series. There's one series on Tubi that I can recommend. It's called Damascus. If you have not seen that, you should definitely check that out. Like that was actually really, really good. Definitely watch that.
word.
All I can say on that. I don't want to say too much, but that is something on Tubi you should definitely watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hear you though. Like we're battling people's nostalgia, and some people don't even have nostalgia for the character. They just are making bad faith arguments on the internet. Is really what it is. But um, I want to jump into the story because, like I said, in a way, this is very much like your sort of last letter to the character. But we open up with Beacon, Raquel's son, fighting the good fight. He's like the next generation of Dakota universe heroes. What went into the decision to make him a hero as opposed to like, I don't know, Gohan, like going off to school studying and whatnot?
Well, I think the funny thing is that I thought of him as kind of like a Trunks character, you
Mm,
know. Um, I think when we were trying to figure out what to do with this, because it was like, well, how do we tie all this together? How do we make it make sense? People are going to ask where these characters are and how is it this universe, is that universe, is this version of Milestone, that version of Milestone, and I'm just like, time. That's how we can get through this. Like this is when you introduce time, you can fuck with all types of shit. But because originally I think it was going to be like a Raquel was going to be like just narrating it or something like that, and then there was like a different idea where like, wait a minute, we've got Beacon, who is in the Static Beyond, thing. Why not make it into like one of those stories where he's almost like a Trunks character. Something happens in his world and causes them to like go back and, you know, get static to, just do something like that.
mm,
That was kind of the idea, and we just kind of just ran with it. But because he's there, he's like the through line between all of these different iterations, these different versions of static, but he also sees the alternate timelines of like how like it could have happened this way, it could have happened that way, So it's like they're all canon now. Pick one, just pick your lore. It doesn't matter at this point.
right. Yeah, nah, it's funny because this book reminds me a lot of the DC Rebirth special, where
Mm.
Wally West comes back from wherever time adventure and is trying to get Barry to recognize him and whatnot. And you know, very similar sequences. I don't even know if that was like in mind when you
It
when
might have been. I think that might have been something that like either like the editor knew, like, oh, put this in here and blah blah blah, and just like, okay. Funny thing is that we actually had to tone down that opening sequence because what I originally wrote was much more graphic, and Marquise was like, "Yeah, let's make it to where it's white and they're like their skin is cracking and it's like the white kind of thing and it's all fading into white." I was like, "Okay," because what I had was everyone just kind of spontaneously start to combust in the flames, and it was like it was going to be called burning through time. It was going to be more graphic than that, and it was more destructive and just more like, oh, doom and gloom, fire and brimstone type shit. And Marquis is like, Jesus Christ. you
so
know
for those of you listening, if you have not read this yet, basically the way this book works, like I said, there's this framing sequence where Beacon is fighting in the far flung future, and something happens. There is a disturbance in the past that kind of just causes his world to come crashing down. And that sets him on this journey through the sort of opening pages where you literally kind of see him falling through different time periods in the DC universe, going from, absolute power and all the stuff we've had in the last 2, 3 years, all the way up until like the founding of, Milestone, JSA and all that, right? So we land at the beginning of the Dakota universe, and Joe's sequence or act 1 really kind of just paints the story of, okay, here's what was. And then you get to that disturbance, like the one event that kind of set everything else off. And Amistad's like, hey, I recognize all this, but I don't recognize that. Here's where it splinters off. And so basically there's an event where in this new world, if you want to call it new, reformed, whatever, but in this world, uh, Dakota existed inside the DC universe the whole time. And there's basically a deal made to kind of keep Dakota separate. And once this sort of catalyst event happens, that threatens the whole deal. And now we got to go and fight these metahumans who are highly concentrated in Dakota because of the Big Bang. And so that is what puts the Milestone heroes kind of toe to toe with some familiar faces from the DC universe, including the Suicide Squad and the Justice League. And again, without spoiling it, because this book is in stores now, you can pick it up, go to your local comic shop. It's probably on DC Universe at this point as well. So check it out. But a deal has to be made because basically all of Dakota is in jeopardy. And the weight of the United States government is up against the Dakota Universe heroes. And so something happens to where they kind of go inactive. And that's where they've been for quite some time. And that brings us back to the epilogue, right? So basically, these characters have been lying dormant for who knows how long. Amistad, finds his way into the future because he's like, yo, like, we can't just let this go down like this. And so he goes to a cafe, and where we find an older Virgil Hawkins, like a college aged Virgil. And Amistad is like basically it's like pleading with him, like, yo, like, you gotta remember who you are. Like, you can't go out like this. And, it's made clear in no uncertain terms that like if the Dakota Universe heroes are gonna rise up, it's gonna start with Static. And even just recounting the sequence, it feels very meta. Like,
That's by design.
word.
That last sequence was basically me talking to the character like myself, like, don't let them punk you out like this. Like it was me talking to Static saying, don't let DC just let this be the final word for you. Like, don't allow this to happen. I know that seems really weird, but it's because I spent so long with the character, so long, 5 years, but long enough to where I got to know Virgil, and it's weird because it's like it's like a part of me, but it's also like a brother. Like it's a weird thing. If you've ever written a character before, other writers and artists are going to know what I'm talking about. It's just something where you just feel connected to this character, and if anyone is fortunate enough to also do this, that like they'll understand what I'm talking about. They'll be like, oh yeah, this does. But that moment where Beacon talks to him and the things that he says to him, it was both is Beacon obviously talking, but it's also like there was a lot in there that I had to just kind of get off my chest. Like there was moments. It's funny because like I recently reread it and I kind of got I got chills, and that's always a good sign for me, Um I got chills, and there was times where I looked at some of the things that I had written there, and I was just like, there's some poetic shit I said in here. And I was like, like I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Like it's weird because like sometimes you write things and you're in the moment, like your emotions are kind of taking over. You're just like just typing and everything's coming out on the page, and you don't even remember sometimes what you wrote. You just know you felt it, and then you send it in, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool," or like, "We've got some notes," and you're just like, "Okay," But and then when it's done, by the time you get it, you've completely forgotten what you wrote. And then you go back and look at it, and you're like,
I should note that the art in this sequence, the prologue and
"Let's talk
epilogue,
about that."
bro, it's
Edwin is
Edwin
fucking phenomenal.
Gallman.
Like, let me. I could. Oh my God. Do you want to
So
go first? Or do
yeah,
you,
so for the listeners, Edwin Gallman has been doing cover art for all sorts of figures. I guess most notably, or the longest running art he's had has been on Stitch with Dynamite, and those are some amazing covers, right? But anyway, the first time I saw Edwin Gallman's artwork, he had a variant cover for Hardware. I want to say it was like number 5, and I was like, "Yo, that is dope." And then he had another one for the Static Team Up, a Nancy book. And ever since then, I was like, yo, if I see an Edwin Gallman variant, I am buying it, like full stop. Right now, he's writing and drawing The Lion King for Dynamite. And that looks amazing. Like, the dude is crazy talented. Like, just,
like going to school with him? That's the cool thing. Like, I went to SCAD with Edwin Hellman, with Edwin, and like he's always been a monster, and he's like the nicest guy. And he and I go back to like playing fighting games and shit like that, like Marvel's Capcom, and like you name it. Like he's always been that dude, and he is a phenomenal artist, and he's someone I had wanted to work with. And sorry if you hear like the sirens and stuff, it's New York. But he was someone I recommend. I wanted him to do to pick up where I left off for Static Beyond. Like I wanted him to do that, and they couldn't get him. But it's fine. I think his name is Miguel, who's doing the rest,
mhm.
which is fine. But then they got Edwin for this section for the Dakota Incident, and when I first saw the pages, like the first page, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fire." It's so weird because when I look at it, it's so strange because like I didn't draw it, but Edwin captured the kind of kinetic vibe. It was really cool to see that. I was like, this is the first time I've ever had someone draw from a script that I've written. So seeing his work and seeing how he drew Virgil and Beacon and shit, like he to me like his drawings of Beacon are like that's like the best Beacon, like definitive, like that's how Beacon should look. Like he took what I gave him and just excelled in every single way, which I knew he would. I'm like, oh, this clears everything I've ever drawn. Like he's that good to me. Um,
I've been trying to figure out a better way to say this because I'm looking at these pages and I'm like, gosh, it's like it looks like you, but better. Like
No, it's definitely more streamlined. It's definitely better. You can say it. You can say it. It's like Edwin was able to just take. It's weird because it's like it's also he took parts of my style, but it's got that Edwin finish on it. Like there's
mhm,
no other way. Like it's like oh yeah, this is you know what this feels like if you looked at JJK Modulo, like how it's like Gege Ikitami is like he's writing it, but the other artist is coming in and drawing. It's like, fuck, this looks amazing. It's the same thing. It's the
mhm,
same feeling where it's just like, just have, Edwin just draw the stuff that Nick can't do, and Nick doesn't have time to do. And I just think it looks phenomenal. You can say it. Like I honestly think it looks better. Like I'm like, that's why when I wanted him to do Stab Beyond, I was like, it needs to be something that's just gonna just take it to the next level. And Edwin does that in spades. There's so many things that he's able to well, I won't say it's effortless because I mean, it's, it's going to be tough to do this. But I think my favorite page that he did in here is the one where Beacon is like talking, like he's pointing at
mhm.
Like, that's my favorite page. I was like, God damn it, that looks so good. Like looking at these pages it's inspiring. It makes me want to like step it up. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
Mhm.
man, this looks great. Um, but that's Edwin though. He's also older, so I mean, fuck it.
I think the politically correct way to say what I was trying to say was it definitely feels like an evolution. And I think
No, no, no. It's better than me. You can say it. I listen, I can say objectively, like, no, he blew me out of the water. He's always been that good. And, you know, I really, really truly believe that. Like I don't have any like ego about that. I can look at some work and be like, I wouldn't put that much effort in. I'm like, I don't have time for that. But
I love
he,
his storytelling.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
to see somebody do covers so often and like you get to the interiors and it's not just like a bunch of pinups, like
Mhm.
that's refreshing. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. He's on another level, and it's like I think he should be talked about more. Like I think he's an exceptional talent. Like I really truly hope that I get to work with him again on something. Like, and I'm picky. I don't fucking like everybody's art. So for Edwin to make me like go and look. Oh, so I'm getting text messages about video games. Um, for Edwin's art to make me go like, that oof, he really, really knocked it out of the park. Like I would be satisfied coming back and doing a doing a static ongoing, but Edwin drawing it. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like
yeah,
I might do a few covers here and there, but if they were like, hey, write something for Edwin and he'll draw. Because Edwin had called me and he said something that was really nice. He was like, oh man, he's like, you're a really fun writer. Like I like this. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, usually it's like boring when I I look at a script. It's like, but you give me a lot of action and you don't bog me down with like, make sure this detail is there. Like you kind of let me have fun. I was like, I like that. I was like, well, I think that comes from being a writer and an artist also. Like knowing that another artist doesn't need all this extra noise,
yeah,
to create. It's like you don't need all that. Like this is what's happening. Boom, 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 boom. This is what I would like to see. You're not beholden to that. Do what you're gonna do. And he just did. I think the best thing you can read is like just go have fun. Like there's ways I talk to, the artist. This is so weird because I'm also an artist, but when I was talking to Edwin, there's just certain vocabulary I'm like, yo, reference Yutaka Nakamura, blah 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 blah, Udapon cubes, you understand. And like the editor's gonna look at that and be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But Edwin will look at it and be like, I know what he's referencing. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh,
yeah.
look at this sequence or that sequence. I can reference anime or something in the script, and he's gonna know exactly what it is, and that's cool. I really, really, really hope that people like his pages and love his pages. They may not care about a damn thing that I wrote, but God damn it, Edwin's art. Edwin's art. For that alone, like I would say pick up everyone's art and this is phenomenal. Let's not get it twisted. Everyone's art in here is phenomenal. I think the artist that did Joe just sequence did an amazing job. Like it's really got that kind of JPL like vibe to it. I love that sequence. I love all of it. I think obviously because I'm a fan of Edwin and I've seen like, his work and I wanted to work with him. Um, it just feels kind of like, I'm glad I got that, you know.
I tried to buy page 5 off of Val Delandra, and
Mm.
he works digitally, so I can't. There's no page for me to buy, and I was really sad. But, but anyways, speaking of, we're talking about Edwin's art, and it's amazing. And I think the word we've landed on is like an evolution of style. And as we're talking about evolutions, I think it's important to just really sit with your evolution as a writer. You started this off like kind of drawing fan art, got,
Mm. Mm.
discovered online. You're co-plotting, co-writing with Vita.
Mm.
Shadows of Dakota, you get to write and draw. And now you're writing and, kind of giving someone else vision and notes. And it's evolved. Like, your role in it has evolved, but also your strengths with words. Like, I want to read just this one segment, right?
Like I know what segment is going to be, but I'm gonna.
You
Okay.
probably do, but hey, listen, they're your words. You're familiar with them all. But Amistad sees Beacon sees Virgil in this form at the coffee shop. He's trying to just convince him to like do something, like Kimberly Elise said. Um, and so Virgil's like, yo, what's this about? And Beacon says, everything. Everything we know and love ceasing to exist. Your present is hollow, echoing a promise of a future that will never come to pass. That is, unless you're willing to be the catalyst for the future. And like, clearly that's you talking to Virgil, but like,
You know what's crazy? I knew you were gonna say that part. I don't know what the fuck I was on when I wrote that,
uh,
but but I read this again and I was like, fuck. I knew that was the part because I was like, I read that again. I read that again like recently, and I was like, what? What was who was talking? You know
right.
what I mean?
But
Yeah.
like, it's also very much like, uh, that's in season 1. Like that scene, the one, the one you didn't get to draw with Virgil and his dad.
Mm.
Like, but the heart is there. Like it. So like this is all carrying over, but in the same way, this is like,
Well,
nah,
then you know
Virgil.
what you got to give credit for then. That comes from Vita. You know what I mean? I think that might have been what just Vita just rubbed off on me in a way, and it was like, use your words, because Vita obviously they had a way with words. Vita would say stuff sometimes, and I'd be like, damn, that's really good. And Vita would be like, huh, you think I could be a writer someday? You think I might be a writer? I think I might be a writer, maybe one day. So
Yo,
I really
that's crazy.
appreciate that.
But man, nah. Even on the next page, right? Beacon is still like straight up screaming at Virgil, by the way. But what you've done, the hero you were, the hero you're fated to become, you can't begin to understand the weight you carry. What you being static has meant to others who you've inspired to be better, mom and me included. Like, I came to you because you're the spark that lit the fire. It's not too late for that spark to come back. Like, bro, between that and Joe sort of making a distinction early in the book that Static was the first real hero of the Dakota universe, like, and I guess I got to close out this interview at some point, but there's a lot of pressure kind of being put on Static's shoulders. Like, if this world, this universe, this publishing line is going to survive, it's going to kind of begin and end with you.
Mm.
So I don't know. Again, you kind of answered this earlier, but like, what do you even want to see from Static moving forward? Like, how does he handle this weight?
My God. I mean, you mean the in comic book form or just like in a broader sense what I would like to see with Static going forward?
Uh, let's go with all of it.
Okay, well they need to fucking give him a movie for fuck's sake. Like give him a movie, give him an animated series. Stop shuffling your feet as to how to get those things to be made. It's not that hard. Like just do it. It's not a question people want to see it. They want to see it. Just fucking, I would want to see that. Um he needs his own ongoing series. Like I know it's how they're probably gonna do it, and it's like having him on like a team at first. But yeah, people want to see a static ongoing series. They don't want to see him as a cameo. They don't want to see him playing second fiddle to anybody. They want to see Static doing his own thing. That's what people want to see. They want to see it done well. They want to see the character handled with respect. They want to see him drawn well. They want to see him written well. And that shouldn't be hard. Like that's what people are asking for. Um, we can't sit here and pretend like that's not gonna sell. That's not gonna work. I mean, we shouldn't have to beg people to go buy a book with static on it. Like we shouldn't have to do that. But here we are, and I think honestly, I've seen some really stupid takes on the internet, and some people I just refrain from even wasting words on because I'm like, you're just loud and wrong, and you have no idea what goes on in this company or in this industry. Like, you don't. And sometimes it's like you can't, people are going to make all types of conspiracy theories about what it is, but they won't listen to the people that are in the room that are telling them, hey, this is what's happening. I think they should. It would make them look a lot smarter if they did. But I think going forward, this character, like there should be a video game for God. Like why is there not so much as like a static hat? Like, why can I not go to Midtown and find a black hat with like a white, you know, static symbol or a white hat with a black symbol? Why can't I have it's right there? Why? Why is there it's so easy. It should be there. They gave us like two t-shirts. I think they gave us like a cartoon t-shirt and like a shirt with Quapel on it. That's cool. That's great. Don't stop there. Now they recently gave us um where is he at? They gave us this. Like this is cool.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. But we would like to see more of that, more of this character. I think they really have a huge franchise on their hands. And the truth of the matter is they need to go ahead and bite the bullet, pay Milestone what you need to pay them, pay these people their money, you know, and get the thing made. Like stop sitting around trying to figure out a way to where you don't have to fucking pay. Just do it. Just do it and make the thing. You're gonna make the money back anyway. Just it's not hard. Um,
Word.
sorry. I know I'm probably gonna get yelled at for saying all of this stuff, but
You're good, man. I mean, I'm trying to keep you from getting fired off your non-existent book, but
you
you know,
it's like there's so many things. I've talked to people and I've never got a chance to like I need to make a post about this because I talked about um, you know, the static movie and people are like, well, what would you want to see, with the static movie? And I'm like, it's so easy to just like for me, what if I want in my perfect world, if we got a static movie, I still stand by Rick Famuyiwa should be the director of that static movie because like he can do comedy. He also has a really great sense of like that 90s like nostalgia. Like if you see it in Dope, like he's got that. I think he can do tension really well, and I'm pretty sure like you'd be able to do action. But I think when I think about like how it should look and feel, you get Bill Pope. Like why you get Bill Pope? He did Scott Pilgrim, he did The Matrix, he did Spider-Man. Static is a very kinetic character. You want to have somebody that can like really film that, score easy. Get Ludwig Göransson on there because if you listen to his Tenet soundtrack and you listen to the Creed soundtrack, put those together, that's your Static soundtrack. That's the sound that Static should have. It just makes so much sense to do this. Fucking get Ruth Carter, the 9B team, to come in, do costume design, get all that stuff in there. Like, and you're probably thinking, well, who would you want to be Static? And there's two people. There's two people that I think would be really good. One of them is a young man named Christopher Farrar. Like, I've seen him in like an Abbott Elementary, and I could probably text you like what he looks like, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of see this. Let me see, where is it at?
Uh yeah.
Oh yeah, you see it. If you see what he looks like today, look at his
Also,
IG.
also I've seen
Yeah,
which episode he's on. Was he the one to like anyway, whatever.
he's
Point
been on
is, he was
Atlanta. He's been
great.
on like a few things.
Yeah, he was the kid in the trunk in Atlanta.
Yeah, him. Like I think that's my top pick for Virgil. And there's another young man that I think that can do it too. He looks kind of like the Quapel
Mm,
version of him. Like if I could, where is it? It's this one kid named and it's funny because he's been on my like IG like asking to be Virgil, and I'm like, I'm the casting director. I can't say, I can't tell you who, but what's his name? Um, Danielle Hansley. I'll send you like a link
okay.
to his thing. But like when you look at these pictures, you can't tell me that doesn't look like Virgil. And he can act too. Like,
Dang.
hang on, I got you. I got you.
Now I'm looking at him. Like,
Hang on. Here, this is the one. Like that kid could easily do it. Like it's like you don't have like here, I just texted to you.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that, like bro, he literally like he could do it. Him or Christopher Farrar. It's right there. And like I've been saying this, I'm like, okay, these are the people that this could work. And you probably think, well, who would you want as a villain? And obviously, I want Ebon. And who I would choose for Ebon, people were probably gonna be like, "What?" But if you see him in like Raising Kanan and other things, it's like that makes a lot of sense. Because obviously, we all say about Mahershala Ali because like he sounds like Ebon, and like
Hmm.
he is like much older now. I think for my money, the person that could actually really do Ebon justice and would complement our Virgil really well is Joey Badass. Like, I yeah, if you see him in Raising King, like that nigga is Ebon. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. That's right. It's right there. Like, he's just famous enough to where it's like, yeah, that I'd buy that. And he can act, and he's got the menacing vibe. He's got the height, he's got the demeanor. You believe that there could be a good person in there, but it's just like, oh man, you've been broken down. You know what I mean? And I know he could be scary. Put some reverb on that, but that's terrifying.
Right.
But
Right.
it's like it's right there, and I'm like, yo, you guys, it prints money, and that's not even talking about the other characters. Your Sharon, your Roberts, your Jeans. Like it's so easy. Like for me, it's kind of funny because like I think my Robert Hawkins would have to be Winston Duke. Because if you've seen Winston Duke with glasses,
Hmm.
he looks like Dwayne McDuffie. And it's like that that could work. And then it's kind of funny because I always felt like Raquel, at least in Static Beyond, like Raquel, my vision of her is definitely like a Regina Hall type,
Hmm.
but I could also see Regina Hall being Gene Hawkins. I could see that being Virgil's mom because it's like, oh, that's where he gets that smart aleck humor from. That you can see that. It's like, oh, his mom is funny.
Right.
That's where he gets it from, you know. But there's so many other ways. Like Sharon, I'm still trying to figure out. Like someone said say like maybe the sister from Stranger Things. I'm trying to think. I'm like Sharon is tricky because Sharon is older than Virgil. So it's like I gotta think more about that. But I haven't like made a whole post about this, but I've definitely like talked to Dennis and Reggie about this. And Dennis is funny because he's kind of like, yeah, good choices. Like this makes sense. And then Reggie, you talk to him about it, and he's gonna give you the whole Hollywood talk and give you like, well, the problem is they might age out of the characters and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, then use that to fucking make a thing. Like, just make it.
Do it now.
Like, I'm like, make it then. What are you like? Don't wait on it. Like, I don't know. It's. But when you think about it, it's like when I saw Supercell when that came out, I'm like, yeah, there's no reason we shouldn't like why what's so hard? Why is a static movie harder to make than the Blade movie is? Like
It's funny because like in a world where all those Miles Morales movies exist, right? Like, and I look at Miles's family life and even like the journey, it's a very similar hero's journey for, obvious reasons, but there's so much more material there. Like there's so much more depth in the Hawkins family, in Virgil's story. Like even down to the way power sets work. Like it's just there's a lot more cool stuff that you could do.
you don't
Like,
think people aren't gonna line up to see this like super cool like you don't think YNs are gonna show up to see this kid with locks zipping around and fucking like electric like do you have any idea how cool that would like uh, the shoe
which
like there's
costume
so
is he
much
wearing?
you could market like the shoes like the like headphones you might like there's so much that you could do with this character that people would line up for and that's your Spider-Man money, your Black Panther money, it's right there. It's right there. And it's like this seems like a no-brainer and it's so frustrating because it's like we could do this. And I hope that people, when they see this, that it's like, it's not like people don't talk about it. You guys can't just keep coming with us being like, oh, where's the static movie? Where's the static animated thing? It's like, you can best believe that people, we've been in the ears of the powers that be. We have definitely said, hey, you want to maybe this, maybe now, maybe we can do it now. And it's like, no, not yet. It's like when? I don't want a static movie in the year 2035. Like, sorry.
No, 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 no. It's so with that in mind, right?
Uh,
Like
I realize I probably pissed off all of these.
maybe that may have
James
happened.
Gunn is going to be so mad.
So looking at, I mean, we've already established so much about what this movie could look like, but what costume? Like, cause my bet or my choice, my vote is the Virgil streetwear look, right? But I'm sure people want like the new costume from Shadows of Dakota or even like the JPL suit. Like, what would you pick for the film?
For the film, I think the cinematic look, I think, you start off with that X cap. I think that's the way to go. Like you start off with the X cap, you start off with kind of the black and like the light, like that kind of thing. You start off with that kind of look, and then eventually to show contrast against Ebon, you give him the some variation of like that JPL kind of look. It doesn't need to be mine because the thing is, I wanted to do the JPL look, and they're like, no, it's got to be something new. And I'm like, but people want the JPL look. Just fucking just give it to them. Just give them the people what they want. And they're like, nah, do something new. And I'm like, okay. But I honestly think, it could work. I would try the JPL look, or something that for people that somehow don't know, that's closer to like what the cartoon look is.
The
Um,
fact that Static didn't get a solo cover for this book by the way, in that JPL suit. Like,
Listen, I don't know what decisions they make in these rooms sometimes. Like I do, but I don't know what the thinking is behind some of them. And I'm just like, okay, well maybe, I might need this, might a little bit more of that. And like, no, 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 we're not gonna do that. I'm like, you're not gonna do the thing that will guarantee sales. Okay. Um, but I think that would be the cool way to go about it. Like I think I'm gonna be biased because I fucking love the work Rebirth of the Cool. But I just think that's the way to go about it. Um, I think there's all types of cinematic ways you could design it. Because like on one hand, I could see him with like the black, cowl, but then also like the white cowl could also work. You know, it's kind of funny because I have yet to see, I mean, I've seen a few cosplays where people like really put some effort in, but I haven't seen someone take the static cartoon costume and give it like a real cinematic like look. They kind of just slap on the white cowl and the coat and call it a day and that's that. But I haven't seen anybody like really go and like make like a solid like, oh damn, you really designed this thing. There's a few people.
Stephen, that's a challenge. That is a direct challenge to you, sir. That's the one that made this hoodie.
I think there's one person that made the jacket. I saw some person made a jacket, and it's been like a few cosplays, but it's been of like my design. I've seen people do that, but I haven't seen anyone do it with like the cartoon look,
Mhm.
like make it look like like this is a real thing, give him like the motorcycle gloves and give him, I would like to see something like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Dope. So as we close out, we've been talking about, static and other media, right? And I think there's obvious reasons why, Virgil Hawkins has to be like the sort of beginning and the end of whatever iterations we see of Milestone,
Mhm.
right? But outside of just the financial viability and the recognizability of the character and all that, right?
Mhm.
What do you think it is about Virgil that endures, that just makes it so that he's kind of the energy that we magnetize to?
He's a young black man in America. It's very simple. How many people see themselves in Virgil? How many people look at that and be like, damn, that's me? How many people, are intelligent and, into science, into, books and, people that are into this type of stuff that see Virgil Hawkins and they're just like, yo, that's me. You know what I mean? I think that's why he endures is because it's a character that was written to endure. Like, he's gonna not endure, gonna pretend that he's not. No, Virgil Hawkins lives right down the street from you. He lives right down the street from me. You know what I mean? Like you've seen Virgil Hawkins somewhere out there in the world. So don't give me this horse shit about it's not gonna fucking be marketed well or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Don't give me this horse shit like, well, we don't know what to do. We don't think it'll sell. Fuck that. Like it will do well. You know it will do well. You know how many times I like go outside just out here and I see like, oh, Virgil. No, this person looks like Virgil. You know what I mean? Like I see that now more than ever. And it's funny because if there was ever a time where Virgil Hawkins would exist, it would be now. If there was ever a time that Virgil was necessary, it would be now. If there was ever a time where people, young people especially, could see a hero and see themselves, it would be now, especially when it comes to like Virgil Hawkins. How many young people do you see with locks these days? When we were growing up, we had to get that little Bill haircut. They shaved all our shit off,
Yeah.
like which
No
again,
guard,
another
just
another
straight
joke that I
buzz.
love in Rebirth the Cool, they do that to Virgil where he's got the shaved hair and he talks about it. He's like, no, I'll never let them cut my hair again. So I'm like, I thought that was the funniest fucking thing in the world where they show Virgil with the shaved head and like everyone's laughing, even the teacher's laughing at him. Like, the black experience.
Yeah.
Everyone had that.
Yo, somebody did a video essay.
I
about why
saw that. I
moms
didn't get to
love
watch it.
hello. I haven't watched it yet either.
I saw that and no, I'm like, man, I don't even want to relive the trauma of that. I don't want to, you
Oh my
know.
god.
But I'm like, that's something that is necessary. Like it would work. It's right there. Um, so I think they need to, hit up Ryan Coogler, hit up Rick Famuyiwa, fix whatever the fuck y'all did with the Flash with him. Just give him static, let him do it. Ryan Coogler obviously would be exceptional too, but give someone, a shot to do it. There's even there's a guy that I think his name is David, like is David Kirkman or something. I think it's something. He's a
Yeah,
guy that
he's
makes
been making the fan films.
he makes like independent like static films. Like people are out there wanting this thing to come to life. Like it's funny. He had said something online one time that like I agreed with 100%. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly how it should be. Like so it's like it's not like people don't know what should be done, what should be you know applied to when it comes to like this character or how to make it. I don't know where they just refuse to listen or they just, as Joe would just say it, they're just not cool. Joe would just be
That's a
like,
good Joe.
Joe is just like, they don't have it. They don't know what's going on. Right? They don't get
They,
it. These guys,
they tried it. They tried to crack it. They couldn't do it.
Joe be mad.
Yo,
He
listen.
fed up, bro. But it's true. I think there should really be there's talent out there that can make this thing happen. There are directors out there that can make this thing happen. There's all types of artists that could come together to make this. There are people that remember Static growing up, even though they might still say, "Oh yeah, Static Shock," and it's like, "Oh, it's whatever." Like
Yo,
it.
Tony Weaver, we got to fight.
Does he say Static Shock?
That man said Static Shock makes more sense. Like, not only does he say static, but he's like he's gonna die on that hill. Like
Listen, I he's not working on these books, and there's a reason. So
he said the shock is the threatening part. Like who's running from a kid called Static? And I was like, that's funny. That's funny, but his name is
no.
Static.
No, it's static. Static shock. No one says, "Oh, look, it's static shock." They don't say that. It's static. It's the reason that they call it static shock do I have to go through this? I don't have to go through this. I don't want to go through this.
We don't have to go through.
Like they called it static shock because back then there was the whole the TV thing. They had to make sure that when it said static, it was like people didn't read it as like, oh, it's just nothing going on. They had to put static shock so there was a show there. There was something happening there. Not just
You're looking at the TV guide, you see Static, and it's huh.
yeah. There's
Learn
nothing.
something new every day.
Yeah. So that was, and it's just like no, don't call it static. I would love for them to do that in the movie. I would love for them to just be like, oh my God, static. There's no shock.
Right?
It's just static.
Like Ben, like it's I don't do it's clobbering time. That was the cartoon.
Yeah.
But y'all,
Yeah.
so new history of the DC universe, the Dakota Incident. It's out now. There are 5 covers, by the way. I'm recording this on release date, and the 5th cover got delayed. But there's 5 covers for this book. Go out and get one. We got the 100K challenge going on, trying to sell all the books, as many books as possible, so we get the Static ongoing series as prescribed by Uncle Joe. Now, Nick, you have been on this for 5 years. You know, in your words, it seems like you've said all that you have to say on Static. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe there will be more Static from Nikolas Draper-Ivey. Not to say that you're going to be on a ball and chain attached to this character for the rest of your life, but I feel like it's there. But if this is your final word on Virgil, it's a good one.
Thanks, man.
Is there another Milestone character you want to crack at?
Huh. It's so funny. I was talking to Marquise about this, and And probably you might not do it if I talk about it, but I don't care. Um, it was funny because we were talking about um he mentioned either I mentioned it or he mentioned it. One of us mentioned no, he mentioned hardware. 'Cause I said that hardware needs like a like more streamlined design. I was like, the thing is like only Dennis can fucking draw hardware. Like, and I think his design needs to be something that is like more streamlined, something that's kind of like if you looked at the Ultraman manga, if you've seen like how it's kind of like this like tech kind of suit, like if I could find the what if you gave him if you gave hardware, something like this would be
Mhm.
fucking cool, and then you give them, make it like black and red and all that type of cool stuff, and give him like a stylish like pea coat, fire, and he was like, it's funny. He was like, I think, you'd be a really, really solid on hardware. I was like, what makes you say that? He's like, well, hardware is angry and Nick is angry.
He's
He was
not
like,
wrong.
and he's like, hardware doesn't like corporations. And Nick doesn't like corporations either. He would probably do a really good hardware book because he's just angry enough to do it. But he was also saying like the type of stories I like to write. Like I like to do more dark, more heavy, themes. Um, he's like that might be more akin to hardware. But I was like, well, if I was gonna do hardware and it was gonna be in the DC universe, like you have to do something that we just haven't seen before. You know what I mean? And I'm like, for me, the thing that would be exciting for me to really get in there would be if we had a hardware story and like take this man who's like this staunch atheist and a man of science and blah 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 and put him up against some like crazy occult shit. Like, put him in that situation, And I was like, that would be really, really cool to see what would happen if how would hardware deal with all of those things. And I mentioned, like, I was like, well, maybe, like Zatanna or somebody like that. And he was like, no, 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 no. If you're gonna do that, go all the way. What does a Constantine in a hardware book look like? And I'm like, see now, and I have to be careful with DC because I'm like,
Mhm.
this is how y'all get me. This is how you get- you dangle the keys in front of me and be like, wouldn't you want to do that? And it's like, that would be cool. Or I can go do my own thing,
Right.
write whatever I want. But I think hardware would be another character. I know there's gonna be some fan out there that's like, don't let this motherfucker near hardware ever. He's gonna ruin the character. He's gonna make it into like this crazy cool anime thing with all these like demons and shit. And he's gonna give Hardware a cool suit and a pea coat, and he's gonna make sure that his hairline is like he's got a fade, and he's gonna look cool. He's gonna be blasting demons left and right, and Constantine's gonna be smoking a cigarette, and he's probably gonna give Hardware a cool motorcycle too. Don't do it.
I think it's cool that it's because I don't know. I don't know how I feel still. And by the time y'all hear this, we're a month removed. So maybe my feelings have changed.
Mm,
But I still don't know how I feel about the Milestone heroes being in the DC universe. I got in my gut, they work best in their own
mm,
little
mm,
world, right? But the prospect of getting cool stuff like this, getting interactions with characters that, you know, don't exist in the Milestone universe, or at the very least are not really tapped, right? Because Zombie's not doing that anymore. They made him duo. So
mm,
it's like the idea that you could get some of these stories and some of these kind of crossovers
mm.
is interesting to me and a cool trade off, I guess, for not necessarily getting the Dakota you remember. But
It's like you don't have to do too much. Like you just have like just a little bit in there. It was like, oh, this is a character from the DC thing. Like, okay, cool. Like that's an unlikely thing. You don't have to be like, you know, this is hardware. And suddenly Aquaman just kicks in and so does like one like you don't need to do all that. But like someone that is it's just enough to where you're like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, that's fucking Constantine in terms of the heart. That's okay. Where's this
Right.
going? Like that's fun, but I don't know what's gonna happen. I know Marquise is like just adamant about me just writing. He's like, I want people to see you as a writer and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but I want to do both. I like doing both. But it's cool. I think hardware would be fun. I don't really see myself doing too many other characters. I kind of peaked. Like I did the coolest ones. I did Static, and then anything else I would want to do. I did Batman Beyond for a little bit. I did it. I'm like, what comes after that? I'm like, well, Teen Titans. No, I don't want to. It's not as cool as Static. It's just not going to be as cool as Static.
That's
Um,
fair. Steph wants to do Blood Syndicate, and now I
mm,
really want to see that. And Morgan wants to write Static. I could see Joe doing a dope icon book. Like just it'll feel like classic icon. But
yeah.
I feel like Joe's got a lot to say that he could say through Icon and Rocket.
Mhm.
So I don't know, man. There's a lot of potential.
Pretty cool if we
And
all kind of like switch. They switch.
yeah,
Like I liked what Morgan did when his, and I was like, oh man, I think he also has a good, solid understanding about how to write Static too. Funny thing, so right now both of us are in a training arc, I guess you could say. We're being taken under the tutelage of Christopher Priest. And this is funny because as you know, we probably have seen the picture of Christopher Priest and I and Morgan, and we had like a short little panel thing, and Christopher Priest thought it was a great idea to just he's like, oh, you guys are great. Send me some stuff, send me some things that you've written. It's very, that scholarly, almost like Hank McCoy kind of like
right.
And he had Morgan and I send him some stuff. So I sent him the first issue of Shadows of Dakota and like some of my personal stuff. And then Morgan sent him some of his work. And we're not thinking anything of it. You think, okay, well, we'll send you whatever. But I forgot. It's a trap. When veterans ask you to send you stuff, that is that's the trap. Because what they do is they'll look at it and then they give you unsolicited critique, you know,
Hmm.
and you get this thing back and it's like, oh, I read over your stuff. Here are some notes. You don't have to read them. We're gonna read them.
That is Christopher Priest. That is the first black editor in comics. Like, of course you're gonna take or at least look at his notes.
Yeah, and the thing was he read it and he gave Morgan and I separate, I guess emails, but like he had three PDFs of just going in and like he liked, he's like, oh, I read your original like manga thing, like really cool. Here are my notes on, Shadows of Dakota. And I'm like, okay, what's the point of giving me notes on this thing that's already out, but he gave the notes. And it was like one of those things where I read it and I'm like, well, no, that we're setting this up. Like, if you just read the rest of it, you just understand. And I'm reading the notes, and there were certain things I'm like, no, that's not what. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was hot for about 5 minutes, like.
Mhm.
Because he went through every single panel, but it was funny because I guess he was like critiquing it as he went, and then there were things that he would critique, and then later on he'd be like, ah, I see what you were doing here. Okay, carry on. Blah 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 blah. It just kept going, and I'm like, so at the end of it, after he's like tore me a new one, he goes, he's like, but you're a good writer, but I see a great writer in here. And it's just kind of like hit me up, I'm available to call me whenever. And I read it and I was fuming. And I sat there and I took a moment and I was like, go ahead, say it out loud. And it was like that movie Liar Liar. Like I could not fix my lips to say I was a better writer than Christopher Priest. I knew I wasn't. And I was just like, so I called him and I pick up the phone and he's like, hello. And I was like, look, I've about had it with you old dudes telling me how to do my shit. And he just started laughing. And he was like, I see you got the notes. And I'm like, yeah, really good stuff. Why the hell are you going like this? He was like, I wanted to see what you would do. I want to see what you would say. I want to see like how you would respond. And he was like, well, if you think this was harsh, you don't want to think about what I said to Morgan. And I'm like, what did you say to Morgan? What did you say to Morgan? Because like
Morgan told me his notes would never see the light of day.
like I guess he went in on more, and I'm like, what did you say to him? And it was funny because we were just like talking about it, and he was telling me where he could see the writing that was me. I mean, he also could see like, oh, DC definitely wanted you to do that. He could see decisions that were made that he could tell were not my writing sensibilities. He's like, oh, DC definitely told you to put this here or told you to put that there. I'm like, yep. He's like, okay, so why do you have this caption here if you're gonna have blah blah blah? And he would ask really good questions, but the thing was, he was asking me questions to see if I knew why they were there. So, for case in point, he asked me at the beginning, why is, you have like these establishing shots. You have this, and this, and then you have static show up. He was like, why did you do that? Why did you draw these backgrounds here? And like you didn't need a caption here, but it's like, who does the narration for? Who's he talking to? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and I was just like, oh, it's something that we just kind of had to do he's like, I hate first person narration. Blah, 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 blah. Good writers don't need this. Okay, okay, all right, Christopher, please, I get it. But then I told him, I was like, well, the reason why I put these establishing shots here, it's like, you set up the characters, you set up this world around Virgil. And he's like, okay, you think in a more cinematic way. Like you see it more like film. I'm like, exactly. And he's like, okay, well, he's like, now that you've said that, I can like you hear it. And I'm like, exactly. That's why. And also, when things go wrong, I've now established this world around static. So you see what's at stake. You see people going on with their lives. And now when something goes wrong, it's like, oh, there's actual people here. Instead of just kind of just happening, you have no connection. You don't see all the different life interacting with them. You don't see the homeless lady. You don't see, what I mean? And he's like, okay. I just wanted to see if you knew why you did that. And I'm like, yes. But
Yeah.
he's great. Like it's still, to have the privilege of being, getting guidance from Christopher Priest and like him giving it to you straight, like that's an honor. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
everybody gets that. Like that's still really cool. Even if he's kicking your shit in, the fact that Christopher Priest, and he said it, he was like, I would not waste my time critiquing this and going over this with you if I didn't think you were any fucking good. Like I would not waste my fucking time. That's what he said. Those are his words. He was
I
like, I
believe
would
you.
not waste my fucking time if you were a bad writer. He's
Yeah.
like, I need you to know that. And I'm like, he's like, "Oh,
Priest is so underappreciated somehow.
he's amazing. Yeah.
And like, and I've only spent time with him just like as a fan and like interviewer. But
Mhm.
like even I don't know, all of my conversations with Priest are like 2 hours long at least. But there's always like a 2 hour extended cut somewhere, right? Like that I just had to cut off because it wasn't for the public. But like, and then we'll just have these email exchanges that
Yeah.
go on for like days. But like, he's so gracious with his time and
Yeah.
his wisdom. And I don't know. He, I don't write. I'm not a creative in that way. But like, he is such like the sensei type.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's I don't know. It's a shame that he's not utilized more.
He's
Like,
brilliant.
yeah,
He told me he was like, let me know if I'm like too harsh or something, something he said. And I responded to him and I was just like, listen, I have had many Paimeis. Like you're not the first. Sounds like I've had many teachers that have, you know, done my shit. Like I've this is nothing. I can take this. He's like, well, check on Morgan, see how he's doing. I check on Morgan. It's funny because if our personalities, you would have thought that I was the one that would be fucking furious.
Right.
Morgan was the one who was pissed. Morgan's like, what the fuck is this? I didn't ask this. I have 2 degrees. Why is he doing that? I'm like, Morgan, calm down. He's like, who does he think he is? I don't like, maybe I don't want to write like that. Maybe wrote it this way because
That's amazing.
it was funny. I was like, Morgan, it's okay. This is part of it. This is like, no, what is this shit? Why did I, I'll give him a call. I'll give him a call.
Yeah. This question is going to feel like it comes from left field, but we were talking about senseis, and that reminded me that you have been like, I don't even know what you call it because I'm not in that world, but you've been like training like with swords and whatnot for quite some time.
Oh, Yaido. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yaido, okay. And I'm curious as to like what that discipline, because last time we talked about you like you just being at the gym, right?
Mhm.
But this seems to require a different type of focus, a different type of finesse. And I'm curious as to like how you feel that's affected your personality and how that maybe shows through in your creativity.
Oh man. Well, a few things. Like personality, I think with any martial art, you know, unless you're like a crazy person, you kind of you start to really see, whew, this is gonna sound really funny. You start to really see like based off of how people speak and how they conduct themselves online and the things that they say or how the people are loud and puff their chest. You start to see very quickly um, who's not actually a fighter, you know? And there are times where you just kind of you observe and you're just like, hmm, this isn't even worth it. And I think part of that also like that Iaido mindset, there are certain things where it's like in Iaido to what they at least the dojo that I go to, like the dojo that I attend, we're kind of known for being kind of the intense dojo. It's like Sensei will always tell you like this is life or death, like I tend to make a little bit of jokes here and there, like in the middle of like doing Gekken, and Sensei will just kind of be like, Nicholas, you're making a lot of jokes during combat. Remember, this is life or death. Try not to make so many jokes. And I'm like, okay. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I'm gonna die anyway, I might as well have a good time. I would never say this.
Mm,
I would never say this to Sensei. But, you know, it really does like change what you entertain. Like there's certain things where people might like say something crazy in public or like online. And it's just like I don't need to take my blade out for this. Meaning, I don't need to engage in foolishness. Like like there's certain things where people might comment or some person on YouTube might be loud and wrong about something. I'm like, like it's like it's not even worth it. It's like the equivalent of like this is gonna sound a bit harsh, but it's the equivalent of like some crazy drunk person yelling at you from like the sidewalk, and you're just like, what does it what's the point of me engaging in a fight with you? Like what's the point of what do I gain? Nothing. In fact, I only embarrass myself. So there's no point in interacting with something like this. This is foolishness. So how that helps me, for example, even in everyday situations, there was one day. It was the day after I went up against my sensei. We were doing Gekken, and my sensei is like the nicest guy. Like Kim sensei is like he's super nice, and he's like always smiling. But you get in that match with him and do Gekken with him, and very imposing, very fast, and very, very powerful. But he's only using like I'm giving 100%. He's giving barely 10, but he's that good. And life will hit you pretty hard. People will hit you pretty hard. No one's gonna hit you as fucking hard as Sensei is with that fucking sword. I don't care what it is. Like rent will not hit you as hard as Sensei with that fucking sword. So, um, I sparred against him, and like the next day, and I had gone against other classmates too. And like in my class, like they'll teach you techniques of like how to use the blade, but there's also stuff where you learn like how to maneuver without a sword, you know. So that you just kind of have this thing where you just know how to defend yourself, But after doing this, after sparring with Sensei, the next day I was like not so much sore, but I was just very like in just like a state. I wasn't happy or sad or angry. I was just kind of in this like just quiet state. And I went to the gym and I was using the calf. I was getting ready to use the caffeine machine, but there was a guy that was doing it was supersetting. And it was just like he's this like older guy, um, cursing at everything, just like it was just super aggressive guy or whatever. And he went somewhere around the gym, and I saw the calf raise machine, and I was like, oh, I guess he's done. He's not going to use it. And he comes back, and mind you, this is the day after I just got through sparring with Sensei, so I'm already kind of like, and he comes back and he's like, hey, motherfucker, don't you see I'm on the calf raise machine? And I'm using, and I turn to him, and I'm just like, oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were on it. It's fine. I'll get off. And I get off. And I'm just standing there waiting patiently. Guy gets on the capture machine, and then he like turns and he starts to like step to me like back up, blah blah blah. And he gets like this close to my face, and my demeanor, it was so crazy. My demeanor didn't go from it was just a still.
It's
And
Kobe and Matt Barnes.
bro, the thing that was so crazy is like I had a moment where my mindset was like I could take him down in two moves. But it was so split in my eyes. I didn't blink, I didn't flinch. I just looked at it, and he looked at me, and he just goes, and then he just backed up. And even for me, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, what was that? Like, and I had asked like people in my dojo about it. I was like, yo, this happened to me. And I didn't move or anything, but I just knew, not with any ego, but just like I could break this man. And I and I was like, what is that? I didn't want to, but that was the mindset. And then they were like, that was your seme. Seme is basically like your presence, like your aura, but basically it's when the highest form of martial arts is to end a fight without fighting. They don't have to do any fighting. You don't have to do any killing. Like that's the real victory. Not, getting someone else's blood on your hands. Like that's not a victory. But to there to be no fighting, like that's a victory. And it was weird because I was just like, huh, I've never really had that. And even my friends would kind of notice that about me. They're like, oh man, your presence is different. Like when you came to there's a get together, I showed up and they're like, yo, we can tell like you've been in class. And I'm like, really? What giving it away? They're like, you're just your vibe. It's quiet, but it's like really strong. And I'm like, oh, I'm just tired. And they're like, no, this is different. So when it comes to my art, I'll say this and I'll shut the fuck up. When it comes to my art, I think I kind of look at it and I'm trying to take my ego out of certain things and I'm trying to just kind of be in the moment, but also listening to my body and give myself time to rest. Before I didn't. I would just kind of just keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working, and not sleep and not, take time to like heal and mentally recover because you're on the clock, you've got this deadline, you know, and I'm like, oh, this will kill me. Like I was like, this will actually kill me if I don't fucking pace myself. So now I kind of take some time, I take a breather. Um, I still know that I can like turn up if I need to, but there is kind of like a okay, I'll get to it when I get to it mindset. I don't really. stress about it as much as I used to. And I think my art will be much better down the line going forward because now I'm not putting myself under that stress. Um, you know, we'll see. The next book I do could look absolutely terrible, but
I
but
doubt
we'll
that.
see. We'll see.
It's crazy. Like, this is why I don't think you're done with static.
Hmm.
Like, you talking about the lessons you've learned, the discipline that you've gained, like even listening to this, it's very difficult to distinguish between you and your lessons and the things that you've put in these stories featuring
Oh, I
Virgil.
see. You can hear it.
You can hear it, right? Like, even the win is to not fight, right? Like turning up too early, right? Cost Virgil his family home in season one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just looking for my charger so my laptop doesn't die in the middle of the interview.
oh, you're good, bro. You're good.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we're wrapping up anyway, but it's just crazy. Like, just I have that same poster anyway.
Oh,
The Miles, but it's just crazy. Like listening to this wisdom that you've gained and like kind of seeing it through the lens of this character you've been shepherding for so long.
hmm
It just feels like I don't know. Part of that is just you. It's in you. So
I feel that. I know it probably seems a little flowery sometimes when I'm writing, but it is there is an honesty there. Like you can't write it if you don't know it and if you haven't lived it. And I think that's what helps me be like as a writer to be like as unpretentious as fucking possible. Like,
mm,
like there's times where, the clip from No Country from Old Men comes up where Anton Chigurh is just like, you don't know what you're talking about, do you? And that's how I feel like when I'm writing, like it's like, do you know what you're talking about? You know what I mean? And if you do, then write it. If you don't, you need to go read, you go do some research. But it's like you honestly you can't write anything if you don't live. That was, I think, another reason. Oh, perfect. That was something that they said in Iaido. They
mm,
said they were like, my senpai was like, definitely like write your notes down, like get a notepad. Like this, it's not possible to retain all this information. Like write down stuff. Even my sensei is encouraging me now to take all the lessons that I've done and put them into a manga. He's like, you know, you need to take all of this and just put it into a manga. Like you could definitely like you talk about it a lot. This is all stuff for a manga. You could definitely put that in there. And he's a big manga head. But there's something that Christian Pai had said to me. He was like, you write it down. He's like, he was like, the better the writer, the better the fighter. And he was like, he's like, look at the Book of Five Rings, look at Miyamoto Musashi. It's like all of this stuff. It's like, you write this stuff down. It's like the better you get at writing this and understanding, like not just doing the story, but writing it down, it's gonna help you be better at fighting. And I'm like, huh, I guess that's true. And funny enough, it showed up. I guess it's showing up in my writing. Um, so it's good to have another form of like discipline. I need to get back in class. I've been so busy, but Sensei and I still talk, and he's always telling me like if I'm doing something, he'll be like, well, watch this video, watch that video. Um, and he'll send me stuff or I'll post an Iaido video and he's like, I know the person that did that. Blah 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 blah. Or I'll like joke with Sensei about something and he'll give me a whole lecture about the importance of why a certain thing is a certain thing. I'm like, God, Sensei, I just wanted to share a meme. You know.
you get enough of that from priests too.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I have like many teachers, so what I think I look forward to, God willing, is, who's the man, like who is Nikolas Draper-Ivey, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Who is that old man? You know what I mean? Like that's going to be the tell. Like when I'm older, and some little like shit starting this little brat's gonna come along, and I'm gonna be like, oh boy. I'll sit there and I'll be like fucking like Yuji, talking to Dennis and be like, "Do you see me now, Dennis? Like, this is what you want, right? This is what you warned me about, right?"
This is gonna be curmudgeonly walking through the streets of Brooklyn.
With the hood on. You know what's crazy? I have that hood too. I'm like, this is just like a Nike jacket.
All
Like,
right. That's crazy. Yo,
oh,
but nah, in all seriousness, because I don't know how I'm gonna cut up this episode at this point, but I'm again, I don't feel like this is it for you and Static, but if this was the last chapter, it's a great one. It's a great note to end on.
man.
Um, it's been dope watching your evolution as a creative over these last few years, and I'm very excited to see what comes next from you. So
Thanks,
hit
man.
me up. Let me know when it's time to go public with some stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Excited about it. So, well, with that, guys, this was a very long conversation with my friend Nikolas Draper-Ivey, the shepherd of static, if you will. And the new history of the DC universe, the Dakota Incident, is out now. Um, what should they be looking out for from you moving forward?
Mm, well, I mean, I think right now, in terms of what I have in the works, there's some stuff I have involving figurines and like other forms of art. I still want to get some one shots done. I know I've always been like, oh, I'm finally gonna do this thing, but like I want to do a one shot of my own, of just like something that kind of gets me back into like that manga mindset. But I've drawn some things out, but I'm also like, I don't want to touch it while I'm doing all the DC stuff. I wanted to make sure that shit is done before I go and go back into this world. There's still some stuff with Moto Machina. I'm still trying to figure out like how we're gonna go about that. Like I'm supposed to have a meeting with them with Kuro soon about that. We're trying to figure out full transparency. We're trying to figure out the proper way to distribute it because it's like it's a very large project. On one hand, we could go a certain way with it in terms of like making it a comic or manga or graphic novel, but they do want to do things. They do have larger plans for it, but it's just like how do we distribute it in America? It's tricky because it's a Japanese company, but they want to do something in America, and I have to figure out which publisher is the right publisher to do this specific thing, but they want it in a certain way. It's very hard. Here's the thing I need people to understand. Doing things with Japan is great and rewarding, but be prepared for meetings, for meetings, for meetings. A meeting to have a meeting about a meeting.
Word. Word. I feel you. Well, look, when Nick is done with all of his meetings and he's got stuff to announce, I'm sure you will be able to find it on his Instagram. You can follow at Nikolas Draper-Ivey or on Twitter. It's at Nick Draper-Ivey. You know, stay tuned to the podcast. You know, we'll have conversations periodically. So it's all happening. It's all there. Um, Nick, sir, you have been great. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you know, your friendship over the years, like just all of this, all the story of this channel is like the story of your career, and that's crazy how that's intertwined. Like, so I appreciate it all, man.
For not being an asshole. That's why I don't mind interviewing you because you've always been kind to me and it makes me happy between you and his name is Marcus, but his actual YouTube name is Black Mastodonte. I think that's what his name is.
Mm,
He's always been cool and you've always been cool. And like I always, hope that when I release some oh, and how can I forget Ernie, Bird Without Fear? Like he's been, you know, just singing our praises and being critical and these are people that between like you three I think honestly I care about the opinions of and I want to make sure that you guys are happy as well as all the other fans, and it's just not easy, you know. Whoever gets it next, they'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They'll get it. They'll be like, "Oh, perhaps we were too hard on you," and I'm like, "Yep." But anyway, I think my cat got on the remote and turned the TV on. Come on, bro.
Well,
Anyway.
look, y'all, it's been 2 hours since Nick got his food delivered to his door. He's not eating a
Oh,
mouthful.
I was just thinking about it. I like, oh, I gotta heat this up.
All right, bro. Well, we'll talk soon.
All
Um,
right.
and y'all have a good one.
All right.